many of us are walking in a path of delusion on a lot of different things. You can have the best systems in place, but if you don't have self-awareness, you're going to undo those systems continuously. Yep. You can hire Connie's firm and they do all the work, and then your client goes and self-sabotages everything because of that lack of self-awareness. The same with me. I can put this beautiful plan together. My team can route you out to decades past, generations past, and on the back end, you're self-sabotaging things because there's financial trauma there's scarcity mindset, there's lack of knowledge and not being open to admitting that. There's a lot of different things that make you self-sabotage. So the first part of the system is understanding where you are on that spectrum of the system. The deeper I get into this industry, the more that I recognize that there's not a lot of people that really want generational wealth. I'm not saying this from a place of judgment at all, but to have generational wealth means you have to be doing something for the future at the same time that you're doing it for the now. And you have to be doing something that you'll never get a thank you for. And so we talk about generational wealth and all these different things, but a good amount of people don't care. You don't.
I am on the yay ADHD. I know how it affects me. I also know that my brain is going to work faster than yours. I also know that I'm good. I look at it as Dr. Strange. Like, where is it up? I think on the end game. Is it end game? Where Dr. Strange, he's sitting there and he's got his legs crossed and he's thinking of all the different scenarios that could possibly happen. I can do that with everything. Like, what's the best worst case scenario, especially in business? I can think of every different kind of solution that's going to happen and what would be the best one, because my brain goes so fast. Does your daughter
carry any of those?
She has more of the hyper side of it. It used to show physically. Like, she never walked, she ran. Like, if they're walking,
that's my son too.
Yeah, if there's a line, she will wait till the people moved up and then she would run fast. And then she'd wait for them to move up. But she's not just going to walk in line with them. So all her life has just been, or most of her life, it's been external. It hasn't been internal. Like, mine is internal. So if you saw what the inside of my brain looks like, it's like, but I'm used to masking. So I'm able to look calm like this versus like what I feel like on the inside. So her now.
Are you consciously masking? Like,
100% all the time.
When you're consciously masking, you're having to say, slow down?
Yes. Or I call it double thinking. So before I say stuff, I've already said the sentence in my head. So like that sentence, I had already practiced and rehearsed that of what I was going to say, but it's happening in real time. So I'm double thinking consistently, like, okay, don't say that. You know, when you say this word, you normally stutter. So I process. And so I also talk slower. So I used to stutter when I was little because my brain is a Lamborghini, my body is a Toyota. So my body's like, yeah, we can get to 90 and it's gonna start looking sketchy. My brain is like, let's go, get on the racetrack. My body's like, yeah, we're not able to handle any of that. So just like with kids, what that plays out is all of this frantic behavior because their brain is a Lamborghini. Their body's like, I can't take it, so I'm just going to move as fast as I can. I'm going to stutter, or I'm just going to be frantic all the time because I got all of this energy and all of these thoughts, and none of them can come out until either I'm on medication, I am aware that it's going on, and then you learn how to do the good old masking, but it's 100% consistent.
Did a teacher recognize this for you in your journey, or?
No, a family, because it runs in my family. It's genetic also. The teachers for my daughter recognized it immediately. They recognized it when she was in kindergarten. They were like, so she's really smart, but she can't sit still. Like, she should be in second grade. So they would send her during nap time, from preschool during nap time, they would send her to the first grade.
Wow.
Because they're like, oh, she's smarter than all the kids that are in here, but she's also not going to take a nap. So we can't move her up in grade because she's not going to sit still. And in first grade, there's no naps. So that little break time that you get, that we get. And I was like, I told y'all that the first day I brought this child in here. I said, hey, you know the little time you think when you're going to lay the kids down, they're going to be asleep, you're going to get to do all your little notes. You're not going to do none of that. Because my daughter's going to be awake and she got questions to ask. Do you know who God is? Are there two gods? Because if you got God in your heart and I got God in my heart, that's two gods, right? So now you got to explain omnipotence to my preschool child. So good luck with that. Have a good day. And I would leave him with a $100 gift card and a bottle of vodka. And like, but I mean, it's played out. She's straight A's, softball, does all the amazing things. So now she takes that energy out in sports.
Okay, that's good balance. And just being able to move your body around is just so key. But I try to do that with my son too, because he could get. I see moments where he can get a little bit frustrated. I'm like, you just need to go move your body. Like, just go run outside, go do what you need to do.
Burn off some of this energy. Because if you can't, if it's up here.
Yeah.
So if you can't express it, you can't say enough words to think. Right now, I was thinking about the dog. I've got 100 conversations that are happening in my head as we're talking right now in real time. So if you can't, I can't say all the words.
Does it make you tired?
100% exhausted.
Okay.
All the time.
Because just listening to you, I'm like, oh, I'll probably be out in the world for about an hour, and then I need to go have a bottle of wine.
Yes. Yes. But see, and then even with that, I've learned that self-medication, whether it's like, I'm not taking my Adderall or I'm not taking any anxiety meds, but I will go have 3 lemon drops. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
So being able to come to the self-awareness of, okay, you can't use alcohol to medicate either shit, but if you're going to raw dog this journey and just try and get to know your brain, try and be aware in your relationship, try and be aware, raising your daughter without any medication, that means no medication, even alcohol, right? Yeah. So I think going through this process while you're being self-aware and realizing what your triggers are, right? So for me, triggers are seeing things that I know that I can help make better. Great. So we can become entrepreneurs, right? We can go in and we can solve problems and da-da-da-da, but all of my energy, every single bit of what I have goes towards making everybody else okay. I have no energy left for me at the end of the day. So that's why I was like, if I get into a relationship, it's going to have to be with somebody that's as much of a giver as I am. Because the world is full of takers. Naturally. Because I'm already like empty by the time I walk in the door. Because my brain has been used by everybody else and their mama, except for me. So yeah, it's a journey.
It's beautiful self-awareness though.
Thank you. Lots of years of therapy. Yeah. I've been in therapy since I was 11.
Yeah.
So most of the conversations that people would have with a therapist, I've had them with actual therapists. Okay. And then now I'm having those conversations with myself again.
Have you ever tried group therapy? It's always been one-on-one?
Yeah, it's always been one-on-one. The only reason I was nervous about group therapy is because I'm an empath and I absorb other people's energy and their stories and their feelings, which is why when I go to events like InvestFest, I have to be very mindful of who I'm touching, who I'm hugging, because people hug me, and because I'm a nurturer naturally, as people collapse in my arms and tell me their life stories and they cry, and I'm grateful that God gave me that gift where people feel safe with me. Right. And also, I don't forget your story. I'm still praying 16 years later for people's stories, right? Yeah. So I have to be careful with who I share that kind of energy with.
That makes sense. I just got invited to be in this group therapy. It's for like high performing women. And I was like, you know what? I've never done group therapy. I've done solo therapy many times. And then I've done marriage couples therapy, but I've never done group.
Have you done couples therapy as a group or just one-on-one?
Just the two of us. Got it. So we still do. This is very much a big part of us. Good. But we do together and then we both do solo.
Good. That's the direction I go. Have you been to the group therapy part yet?
No. So I'm getting ready to try it in the fall.
Okay. Let me know how that goes.
I know. I'm very curious. I've never experienced it before, but I'm open to it. Just seeing what's going to come of it, because I haven't tried it in that setting before.
Because that sounds like a lot of trauma. All in one room. Like they're going to have some serious therapists in there.
It is a serious therapist.
Okay.
Yeah, she is, she deals with high performing women because typically there's patterns that show up in like the other areas of your life very consistently. And then many times you are always putting on the mask because you don't have that many people to relate to in that realm. And so she's trying it out. She's done a few cohorts, but I'm trying it out. I'm excited to see though. I've never experienced that before.
Because the problems, I was talking to another person in the community. She was talking about that she has to have 3 different therapists. And I was like, tell me why. I understood why immediately, but tell me why. It's like, if you're making millions of dollars, if you're making hundreds of thousands of dollars, if you're amassing wealth, if you're a public figure, if I go to a therapist that's never made more than $54,000 a year, very true. The advice that you're going to give me is a whole lot different.
It's a different lens that they're looking at.
100%. Right. If I am married to somebody that has this personality, but I have that one. But we also have all of this money. That's like, it's a whole lot that goes into trying to tell somebody about a place you've never been. Now, I'm fine with that because there's wonderful, amazing, like female newscasters that's never played, sportscasters that's never played football,
right?
But they understand the game,
right?
But if you're looking at me and you're like, but your life seems really great, you don't even have to do anything, and you in here complaining because you're a little anxiety, like that's not gonna work. I've been to too many therapists in my day.
I think when it comes to therapy, being able to have someone who can relate deeply is a part of the experience too. And I think a lot of us get caught up in, I think therapy has become, I love that it's become so accepted. But then it's also the other side of that is everybody's going to like the same therapist that everybody uses. And I think therapy is deeply personal. Like it's really someone who can hear you and see you and help guide you through that journey from customized to you, and not necessarily like what is someone with your archetype like. So no, I agree with you on that.
And that was my concern with group coaching is, yes, we're all high performing, but we all individually have different issues or different backgrounds or different trauma that go along with it. But I still think I would love to see if you tell me how it goes.
It's a social experiment. I like doing the work. Like I like putting myself in uncomfortable scenarios. And so, me and therapy are like this. We'll never go far away.
They'll go together real bad.
Yes, we go together real bad. My mom is a therapist, so
you grew up understanding the importance. Now that makes sense.
Yes,
that makes sense.
And it's very funny because she always looks at it through that lens, which passes on to me. So even like with me and my husband, I'll be like, so what? We'd be having an argument. I'd be like, so what is the root of that?
Where did that come from, your childhood trauma?
Let's unpack that.
Oh, not the unpack. That's hilarious. So your mom is understood.
Yes,
but that gives you a whole different way to look at life.
It does.
How did that impact you growing up, having a mom that clearly could understand holistically?
Well, it always makes you step outside of the emotion. Like, she's always good at making you step outside the emotion. But it frustrated me as a child.
I can see that.
So I remember, I think I was in maybe high school, and I had this person who was just very adamantly wanting to like break me. Like I was typical like student president, cheerleader, that type of stuff. And this person was very dead set on, you're not gonna win everything. And I'm here to let you know that you're nobody and that they were just, I guess like, I would put them into the context of a bully, but I ignored most of it. And it was never physical in that type of role. It was just someone who's just very, and I remember my mom telling me that, because I tried to have a conversation with this person. I was like, listen, like, you don't know. Well, no, I was like, you don't know me. You know your perception of me, and it's driving you. You're on a very long journey to try to unravel what you don't even know. It's what you think you know of me. So let's just stop this. And my mom was like, you're trying to have a reasonable conversation with an unreasonable person. And she was like, you're looking at the world through rose-colored glasses. This person's looking at the world through blue-tinted glasses. You're not going to talk the same language. You're not going to have the same understanding. And she was like, probably you having this conversation. It was a guy too. She was like, she was like, probably you having this conversation is probably going to upset him even more. So I was like, listen, Mom, everything not going to be like, this was high school too. So I was like, if this keeps happening, we're going to have to take this to a whole nother level. But in this big age now, it was such good advice. I just didn't appreciate it back then, though. So she had those nuances to really guide through, like, a lot of the issues that you're having with people is not you. It's the issues they're having with themselves, and this is how it's manifesting. But I tell her now, she laughs all the time. She was like, now you understand. She was like, I should have been billing you from back then.
Not billing you. And from 1995. Just want to
been billing you from now, you understand. But it's like, the thing about therapy too is until you're ready for the lesson, it's still not going to take root, you know? Yep. And at this level in life, I can understand the things she was saying so much more. She's really good on relationships too, because I would even say in the beginning of like the way you have your level of self-awareness, like I applaud it, because I know that it takes a lot of work to get there. I think in the beginning of my marriage, me and my husband had a lot of lack of self-awareness of our expectations of marriage, of our expectations of who we were supposed to be in those marriages and everything else. And it took a lot of, that's why I said couples therapy is like a non-negotiable, because really a relationship is just a mirror of yourself. And it takes a while. It takes a while to accept that. It takes a while to learn that. And, you know, the things that trigger are your internal triggers. But when you go through, she'd be like, this boob, this mother, you know.
Yes, God, do you hear me, Lord? Did you send her in here?
Right. It is having to really step back and be like, okay, Nicole, why did this trigger you? What's going on with you that got you to level 10 so quickly? And
come on, speak to your mama. Yeah, speak to her, mama.
It's a constant though. You never get to say, oh, I'm healed now. I've done the work and I've finished. It's a consistent digging into it. And you get new triggers too. Like when I had my son, that was new triggers. You know, there's, both of us are cancers. So both of us are very much in your space, right? And I love it. But then there's moments where it's like, okay, I need my space. And it would trigger me. But that was very new for me because I'm used to being the one that is like, you know, touch, feel. And because no one could ever match that level, it was always me being the one who wanted more. But I birthed someone who was 10 times the amount that I was.
And you're like, just a minute.
So yeah, it's new levels, new triggers. And you have to understand.
The book by Nicole 𝘓𝘓𝘓. New love. That's a good one. Actually, why you playing? Put that to the side. Let's clip that out so nobody tries to use that. I might
write that one down.
Yeah, that's a good one. So this journey, and we'll talk about all the money stuff in a minute, but this journey for you with therapy, especially coming from a mom that was a therapist, what was some of the best advice you ever got that for you was like, if this is life-changing for me? What's something that you heard from therapists, from mom or whoever maybe that was definitely life-changing?
I would have to say best or just aha moment for me is understanding your emotional DNA. So, and I've heard it in so many different ways. I've heard it from my mother. I've heard it from therapists. I've heard it in therapy podcasts, but many times you have to understand how you're wired and how you're processing and not try to see ideally how people around you are processing and want to adjust into that. And so we were talking kind of behind the scenes, and I was talking about like high performing women. And I, for years, tried to adjust myself to what I felt like the standard was. And I just wasn't wired that way. And so it gives you imposter syndrome. It gives you this feeling of waking up, feeling like you're already behind, or it makes the cloud on your shoulders heavier because you're comparing apples to oranges. And so I had to just really step back and figure out, how am I wired? What is this life journey that I'm on? How does this work for me? And proceed in that way. And it's not going to make sense to a lot of people. The way I operate, the way that I move is just not normal to a lot of people. But I smile and it works for me and I sleep at night. And that's just about it.
Yep. And that's what matters. Mm-hmm. And being able to find someone or be found, depending on how you're looking at it, mm-hmm. by someone that looks at your DNA, your mm-hmm. emotional DNA. What was that journey, or how has that journey been of, I am this person mm-hmm. and you are this person, mm-hmm. and let's be one person together. Mm-hmm. How has that worked for you?
I think we both give each other a lot of grace because we got to a point where we can give ourselves grace.
That's good.
So once I got to a space of I can give Nicole grace, then I had enough room inside of me to give other people grace. And once he got to a space where he can give himself grace, because once again, we both came from, I guess, type A households that you don't know how much that digs into you. Like when you're always seeking perfection, where you're seeking to be the top of whatever, when you are going past all the check engine signs to hit the finish line because your parents did that and your grandparents did that, and you hold your last name as we come from this type of family, but it doesn't give grace to life happens. And some of this is your journey and some of this is not. And so, yeah, we just give each other a whole lot of grace.
And I think grace is such an important word because we don't normally have it for people, mm-hmm. but then we always begging for it from God. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, just give me the grace to be able to do it. If you would just allow me mm-hmm. to be able to make it. But we don't exude that here on earth.
Yeah.
So I think that's beautiful that y'all have made that decision and you're mm-hmm. being intentional about it. I do have one question for you that mm-hmm. I think is just so awesome. And I think other people will find this conversation pretty dope. When you got married, mm-hmm. you went from, because you were Garner Circle, honey. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You were Nicole Garner. Mm-hmm. And you could not say Garner without talking about Nicole Garner. Let me tell you, Garner Circle, the things that you did here mm-hmm. in Atlanta, mm-hmm. absolutely beautiful, absolutely phenomenal. We started the same year. Mm-hmm. We started out 2007, excuse mm-hmm. me. Mm-hmm. And we had similar clients. And so we've been on this journey trekking along. Yeah. And you did and have done beautiful and amazing giant things under Garner Circle. Mm-hmm. Tell me what that transition from Garner to Garner Scott looked like. Mm. Because people are like, yeah, do I want to change my last name? Mm-hmm. What was that decision where you were like, no, absolutely. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna keep Garner in here, mm-hmm. but it's gonna be both. What was that?
So my husband is traditional, but he knew who he married. So,
come on, husband. Good job, husband. Yes.
So very much I felt like I had built a lot in my name that I did not want to just see that completely go away. But also I recognized a new chapter, a new life, and I wanted us to join forces on things. And I wanted that for my son too. So that transition, you know, going through the name change was really just symbolic of what a new chapter in life overall. And, you know, you put it out there and the world responds. Like many of the things that you worry about, the world will catch up.
They'll be okay.
And they'll adjust. And it'll take maybe one or two times and then the world adjusts as such. So, I mean, but I have clients now who they're in the medical space or the law space and they refuse to change their name. And I feel like that's just a conversation you have with your person. Like, I don't know if there's one right way to do things and one. In the past, you had to.
Was an option.
Right. We keep forgetting like women's rights to do things is still not that far off from things. So you had to do those decisions. Now I feel like it's a joint collaboration of where you guys stand, what it means to you, and then figuring out your why to it. And not just doing it because you have to do it, but is there reasoning? I mean, I have some clients where the man has changed his last name.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the world is changing.
Mm-hmm. Changing. The man has changed his last name because the woman is from generational wealth, and that last name it
Connie Winfrey.
Yeah.
I'll change my last name, girl.
Yeah, it's very important for the last name to carry on. So, I mean, you get deep into your whys for you and your person, and you figure out, I'm not a subscriber to do things because you have to, or because that was the way you were supposed to, but what works for you.
I love that. Mm-hmm. And as your transition from just Garner Circle into where you are now, tell me about how you went from all of the events and all the planning and all the celebrities to making sure that we all had money and wealth and generational wealth. What was that transition for you? I
think I share a lot of the empath side that you do, where when I was in the PR and marketing space, many of my clients became lifelong friends and still are to this day. And I thank God that I was able to cross the paths, but keep paths with many other people. And because of that, we would sit down and have deeper conversations. And outside of these large campaigns and, all the different things, I started noticing there was just a lot of pieces of the puzzle that weren't together. And it looked good, and Atlanta made it look good. It looked good.
They make it look good in Atlanta.
But on the back end, they would be like, I don't have anybody else to talk to, Nicole. Can I just tell you what's really going on here? I have put up my house to keep this business going. I have taken out this massive loan to keep this business going. And I was like, well, how did we get here? Because before you put your livelihood on the line, there was a few other steps. Who was guiding you? Who was talking to you? And there was just a lack of people doing such. And I started transitioning to doing some business coaching because I had some really great people that were around me that showed me, I would say since college, I've been exposed to just really understanding the back end. Now, the back end is not fun. So my 20s, it was like, I want to have fun. I want to travel. I want to do, and I had the skill set that can match that. Mm-hmm. And the back end is not sexy, and it's not fun, and it's not what people naturally want to talk about. But I realized I had that gift, a deeper gift, and there weren't enough people that people could relate to have those deeper conversations.
Agreed.
And so when I transitioned into the space of financial advisement and wealth management, it really stemmed from individuals needing someone that they could feel like could be seen and heard on both sides. If they felt like there was some miscalculations, but then also too, I have so many clients that are doing really well and they have no one to talk to. Yeah. So they're dimming their shine. They're trying to figure out and piece together pieces of information at their level because they're the most successful in their world. And that is filled with shame for many of them. That's filled with survivor's remorse, where they feel like now they have to take care of their entire village and their entire circle. So they don't like to talk about money because it automatically comes with, oh, okay,
give me some of it.
Yeah, oh, Connie's going to cover the bill for us today. Yep. Connie's going to do this. And it has emotionally drained you, So, on just different spectrums, I started saying, how can I serve deeper during my journey on this earth? And I have been fortunate enough that people trust me enough to have those real conversations.
And that's a scary conversation. The back end for me also with systems, I have to see all of your stuff, how the back end of your business. So it doesn't matter if you have millions of followers, that the back end is trash. The customer service, your team is unhappy. So I know how hard it is to get into the hearts and build that trust. So we have really, really great relationships and they run deep because people trust us with that kind of information. Now, when you're talking about dealing with people's monies.
Yeah.
Ooh, I know that looks crazy for you.
And it's emotional. The same I would think with systems though, because systems is opening it up wide open to be like, I know y'all got here, but you're using a rubber band, a paper clip, and a piece of tape. And at any given moment, this whole thing could fall apart.
Yes.
All it would take is for you to, God forbid, get into an accident, have to be in the hospital for a few weeks, and this whole infrastructure would
gone.
Right. And so it's the same on the financial side. It's you have done a really good job with the information that you have thus far. But if life decides to life in any given realm, which it will, it's inevitable. It's inevitable that one day we will all die, that one day life will happen, that one day your parents might need you, your children might need you. It's so many different things. Or Uncle Sam is on his way. It's just, it would not go in. But there's so many reasons as to, you can't think you're invincible. And so you have to start insulating yourself from the inevitable in a multitude of ways. But then also, I think on the financial side, it's going to show some of the decisions you made. What did you prioritize in life? What are some of the decisions? Mm-hmm. And you have to sit down with someone and reveal all of that. But if you're embarrassed about it, I think use that to motivate you to say, not anymore. I'm going to change some things. Or if you're really proud about it, use it to say, okay, what can I do to continue being proud or being prouder? Or make sure it generationally leads to being proud. So
when people are saying the word generation, that's being thrown around as much as systems is today, as much as coaching was. Yes. Everybody's a coach. How does your first business and you a coach? Explain that to me. But they throwing generational around.
Right.
They don't have any generational documentation. So you can't even, this is how I did it. Here's all the processes, the SOPs.
Right.
This is the book. If you follow this, you're fine.
Right.
But even before they get that book, if you aren't able to manage the finances behind it, if you don't know where the money is going, because a lot of times you'll just see, I made $1 million this year. Yay! Yeah. How much did you keep?
Yep.
Yeah. $83 in my account, but I have everything that I want around me.
Right.
What type of system should people put in place financially to make sure that they're being successful and the things that they have is sustainable?
I think first is self-awareness. So, and that's going to expand into so many different areas of life. But many of us are walking in a path of delusion on a lot of different things. You can have the best systems in place, but if you don't have self-awareness, you're going to undo those systems continuously. Yep. You can hire Connie's firm and they do all the work, and then your client goes and self-sabotages everything because of that lack of self-awareness. I'm not getting anybody in trouble. The same with me. I could put this beautiful plan together. My team can route you out to decades past, generations past, and on the back end, you're self-sabotaging things because there's financial trauma there's scarcity mindset, there's lack of knowledge and not being open to admitting that. There's a lot of different things that make you self-sabotage. So the first part of the system is understanding where you are on that spectrum of the system. Second off is being okay with saying you don't know what you don't know and having the right professionals to come in, because you're going to operate from an emotional stance. Many of us do. And I hate that the world is like, oh, you're not being disciplined. Oh, I'm not a fan of the financial people that are like, if you just were more disciplined, you would know, because your emotions going to kick in.
Yeah,
it is. So you're not a robot. Something's going to happen. You're going to do everything you need to do for retirement. Your baby's going to get to college. They didn't get the scholarship, and you're going to unroll that retirement to pay for them because it's your baby. And there is someone who's speaking from a level of privilege that's like, no, you should not do that. But you're like, well, how else do I take care of my baby? And so to keep that emotion from happening, it's like, where can we know life is going to surprise you and just already have those pieces in place? But it's going to take having those professionals around you to be able to do such. So that's definitely a second part of the system. Third, it's funny you say we throw generation and generational around a lot, but the deeper I get into this industry, the more that I recognize that there's not a lot of people that really want generational wealth. And I'm not saying this from a place of judgment at all, but to have generational wealth means you have to be doing something for the future at the same time that you're doing it for the now. And you have to be doing something that you'll never get a thank you for. And that takes a deep, when I was sitting in InvestFest and I looked around and I saw these thousands of Black and brown people that were able to get some of this knowledge, I was like, it's only because generations ago, someone did something that they would never get a thank you for. It's not just you get to walk into this building and you get to purchase your ticket. I'm quite sure the street that InvestFest sits on, we weren't even allowed to be on. This city's infrastructure, when you look back at the Maynard family, when you look at the Russell family, all these different things, it's a reason that Atlanta is this Black Mecca. And and many of the things that transpired were because of thankless moments. And so we talk about generational wealth and all these different things, but a good amount of people don't care. You don't. I can't tell you how many times I hear people say, well, I struggled and I was okay. And I did this and my child needs to go through this, and just continuously passing down the trauma cycle over and over again. You don't even have to. And so when it comes to those systems, another part of the system in place is something that's taking care of the future, because your emotions is going to bring you back out of that over and over again.
I could go cry in the car.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm in 100% agreement with you, because I think it's just a cool phrase to say.
It is.
But nobody's building for the future. They're not saving for the future. They're not building anything that's sustainable.
Yeah.
And so when I walk into buildings such as InvestFest and I look around, I'm emotional, because I'm like, if I removed all of these people, 20,000 people out of their business, 99% of them will fail. They're not sustainable. So, and it's cool, some roles, some jobs, some companies that are started, videography. If you want to be the videographer, you want to hold the camera, you want to do the recording and everything, that's perfectly fine, right? Because that is your company, that's one thing. If you say, hey, I want to scale and I want to grow a videography firm or an agency, and now I'm hiring other people, you still got to train those people. How do you set up the mics properly? How far away should they be spaced from your face? What lenses do we use versus this one? That's still a process that you're teaching, so it could still be sustainable, even if you're a videographer. But when I'm looking at these companies and all they're saying is generational wealth, because I'm doing this, but you don't have anything to pass down operationally or financially. So I think what you do is so important, because we're not and I'll tell a quick story. When you asked me about the planning I was doing for my dad, and I was like, yeah, I want to retire my dad. You're like, okay, well, how much will that how old is he? Okay, great. How much will it cost for the rest of his life? Including your life, your daughter's life, the life of your spouse, all of this stuff. I hadn't thought of that. I hadn't considered that. And then what took me out was, you were like, and is he married? I was like, yeah. How much is it going to cost for her life too? I'd never even considered it. I mean, for me, I'm like, okay, and this is his wife. I'm taking care of my dad. Like, no, you're taking care of that family. So even those conversations, I think, are so important, because I never considered that. That was never even, it was like, yeah, I have enough money today in my account to take care of you this year. You don't think about, okay, great, you're 65. Even if you live another 20 years, which our family lives forever, you live another 30 years, how much is it going to cost me to take care of your life for 30 years?
Yeah.
And those conversations are ones that we're afraid of, because like you said, I don't think people are really looking at generational wealth. They're looking at taking care of themselves right now.
Right.
I want to live good. I want a fat house. I want a Lamborghini. I want all the stuff right now. And then whoever I can see, my kid, I get to pass this down to my kid.
Right.
Like, just right here. But that's just one generation. And another thing you said.
But if something happens to the previous generation, it's going to pass down what you can pass down to the child. I love that you brought that up, and that transparency. And that's why we have to have more of these conversations, because most times people are having these conversations when they're in the midst of it, when something is transpiring and they're dealing with a parent that needs to come live with them. And that's the first time they're starting to have these thoughts. But I love, did you watch Brene Brown's special on Netflix? It's so good. She talks about having the tough conversations. And so a lot of times I compare myself to, I'm not a therapist, and I send my clients to therapists definitely when needed. But many of them come in my office and they're on the couch because we're having these tough conversations. If something was to happen to your mother, how does the household feel about that? Does the mother move in? If there was a loss of income on one side, what happens to that? If we have all this real estate that we want to pass down to a child, what are we going to do about the taxes that will incur from that? If we have a set amount for retirement, but we want to make sure that we're expats and we're living overseas, how does that impact our taxes? Like, there's a lot of conversations that if you have them when they're happening, it's too late.
Nobody wants to have these conversations. I feel like that closed my, nobody wants to have those conversations. And that's why I think what you do is so important, because you allow us to have a safe place to have these conversations, because we're not having them at home. We're not having them at school.
Yeah.
So the two places that we're spending the most of our time at, we're not having those conversations. We weren't built, we weren't trained, we weren't taught any of this stuff. But now as we're growing older and our parents are getting older, these hard conversations they're necessary. They're sad, but they're empowering too.
That's why I want to applaud you, Connie, because and you're so humble. And everyone who's listening knows Connie is like the most humble. Me and Joy talk about it all the time. The most humble, but the importance of having more possibility models, right? When you did, I think you did InvestFest last year, and you talked about freedom of time. Your booth was so good, because it was like showing how you could live life and your business can still keep going. These conversations are so important because there's not enough possibility models out there. Most people have seen life in a few ways. They've either seen it through the lens of survival. They've seen it in the lens of thriving, but being very hush-hush about it. So kind of like figure it out yourself, or stumble your way through it, or they've seen it in a place of being retroactive. But just freely being able to talk through these things, like, okay, Connie, you're on a beach and you're still working. How does that work for you? What did you do? How does that happen? Or Nicole, we've seen that you have set things up generationally for your son. Your son is a trust fund baby, and a Black trust fund baby. Don't say, if you believe it, you can achieve. Don't give me, if you work hard enough, if no, Nicole, specifically, what did you do? And I will tell you what I did, but then also I will tell you what I did might not work for you too. And so you also got to start to figure out surround yourself around people that make it make sense for you as well.
Nicole, thank you for coming.
Yes.
This has been an awesome conversation. We've done all of the things. We done went from ADHD to marriage to changing last names to expats, to taking care of your kids, to generational wealth, and to stop being out here playing with your business and with your finances as well. I forgot. This is Nicole Garner-Scott. Tell the people who you are.
Dr. Nicole Garner-Scott. I am a financial advisor and a wealth manager. And I would say I'm just very passionate about helping people plan for second half of life. It's a part of the conversation and a part of the planning process I feel like we don't delve into enough. And it leaves us in a space of having a beautiful now and trying to catch up for tomorrow. So excited and honored to be here with you, Connie.
Thank you so much. I love you.
Yes.
Thank you for coming to another episode of Life with Systems with Connie S. Falls, and the S is for systems. Love y'all.